5 weeks ago, I was driving home from work and decided I needed to get a haircut. I figured up in my head that it had been about 6 weeks since my last one, so I was due. The last woman that had been cutting my hair for the past 7 years had decided that she was going to stay home with her 2 young children, so she would no longer be able to do my haircuts. Soon I found myself pulling into a strip mall near to my house, which had a new salon that had just opened. The salon was called Creating the New You Salon. I decided to give it a try, thinking it would be easy to get my haircut at a place so close to my house. I should have thought that decision through more. As I walked through the door, the familiar smell of a salon greeted me. Although at the time I had no idea what the smells were, I soon would be finding out firsthand. The smells didn't bother me. I had been getting my haircuts done at salons for years. It was obvious that the salon was new. It had what appeared to be the latest high-tech shampoo sinks and hair dryers. I walked up to the front counter and waited a few seconds before a very attractive brunette woman came out of a back room. She was wearing a multicolored pleated skirt with a form-fitting sweater. Her makeup was perfect, as was her hair. As she walked up, she had a very inviting smile. She introduced herself as Sasha and asked me how she could help me. I said, "Hello, my name is Troy," and I proceeded to tell her my story about needing a new person to cut my hair. She told me she was sure she could help me out, but first I needed to fill out forms so she could create a file on me, so she claimed. The form was quite detailed, asking questions such as age, weight, height, body measurements, natural hair color, natural eye color, marital status, etc. I filled out the form and handed it back to her. She looked it over approvingly and said that I would do nicely. I was a little puzzled by that comment, but thought whatever. After completing her review of the form, she led me back into her private hair studio. She told me, as we walked, that the other 2 women that worked there had taken the day off, so she was the only person there, and if I wouldn't mind, could she lock the front door before getting down to business, as she put it. I said that that was fine. I immediately felt at ease with her. As we entered her private studio, she had me sit in her styling chair. As I did, she said she would be right back after she locked the front door. Several moments later, she came back and asked what I had in mind. I said that all I really needed was a trim. This is when things took a turn. Sasha ran her fingers through my hair, which was a sandy blonde color and fairly short, and said, "Do you trust me?" I said, feeling a little bold, "Sure, what did you have in mind?" "How much time do you have for me to work on you tonight?" she said with a little flirt in her voice. "I have all night, I have no plans, I am in your hands," I replied, trying to flirt back. "Great, I have something planned for you that is very different than what you might expect," she said with a smile. "First, I think you would be much more at ease if you had something to drink, wine perhaps." I said, "Sure," never being the kind of person to pass up on a Merlot. Sasha had me wait in the chair while she filled a glass with wine in another room. She had me take a few large swallows of the wine before wrapping a flower cape around me and easing me into the shampoo bowl. She had just started the water when I felt a little funny. My body felt very heavy, but my mind was perfectly clear. I tried to move my arm, but it would not budge. She asked me if I was feeling okay, and I told her that my body was suddenly frozen. She giggled a bit and said, "Yeah, the wine works wonders. Without it you would never allow me create the new you, so let's get started." I should have been terrified, but the wine must have dulled my panic reflex as well. As she washed my hair, she began laying out what her plans for me were. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. First, she informed me that the length of my hair was simply unacceptable and that after a thorough washing and a deep conditioning she would begin the necessary hair extensions, which she laughingly referred to as step 1. She informed me that she wanted to do something much more extreme with my look than what she normally did for her clients. She said that she had just received the latest in high-tech extensions and that I would just love having hair down to the small of my back. You are just going to love how it feels against your bare skin when you are wearing an off-the-shoulder gown. All I could do was listen in shock. I had no desire to feel my hair against my bare skin while wearing an off-the-shoulder gown. I was a man, not a woman. I managed to say this to Sasha, but she just flashed that smile and said she figured that was what I thought and that would change. Me being a man, she clarified. Sasha then proceeded to inform me of step 2. Step 2, she said, would consist of my hair and the extensions being colored. Again, she wanted to go down the extreme route with me. I was to have the darkest brown hair with lots of blonde and auburn highlights mixed in. This, she told me, would take several hours in itself, but the end results, she assured me, would be worth it. For her, maybe, I thought. My God, what is this woman thinking? Before she started explaining step 3, she had completed my shampoo and was applying a thick, creamy substance, which had a very flowery scent, to my hair. The substance, I could only assume, was the deep conditioner she spoke of earlier. She then proceeded to put what I thought was a plastic bag over my head. We need to put you under the dryer for 5 minutes. The conditioner we are using is heat activated. We need your hair to be in the best possible shape for tonight's activities, she said with a grin. She then rolled over a hairdryer and placed it over my head, turned a few dials, and warm air started to flow over my head. Then she said she had things to prepare and that she would be back in 5 minutes. This was very unnerving to me. I had never been under a hairdryer, much less with a plastic bag on my head. As the 5 minutes passed, I got more and more freaked out. Was this some sort of hidden camera show being filmed and I was the victim, or was this woman serious about changing my hair so drastically? After the 5 minutes were up, she came in pushing a cart full of what looked like hair. My God, she is serious, I thought. The strands seemed to range in length from 8 inches to more than 30 inches. They were a little lighter in color than my hair color, but she explained to me that when applying hair color to the entire head, including extensions, it is better to start with lighter colored extensions. Oh, that's great to know, I mumbled sarcastically, because in my current state that's about all I could do. She lifted the dryer off my head, removed the plastic bag, tilted me back into the shampoo sink and began rinsing out the conditioner. Your hair feels wonderful, you should feel it. Oh, that's right, you can't move, sorry, she said with a laugh. Once Sasha had completed my rinse, she again put me under the dryer, this time for longer as my hair had to be dry for her to attach the extensions, she explained. She again left the room to, as she put it, continue her prep for my lovely new look. It must have been about 15 minutes this time when she finally arrived, this time pushing a cart filled with a total of 7 boxes of hair color, 4 of which were different colors and 3 of which were the same color, aluminum foil pieces. 5 small brushes and various other items that I did not recognize. She again turned off the dryer and moved it across the room. Okay, are you ready for step 1? She said cheerfully. I mumbled, no, and she retorted, I didn't think you would be, but I am, so here we go. With those words she began what turned out to be a 4-hour process. Sasha told me, as she began, that normally she uses 1 strand of extension per 4 natural hairs, but for the look she wanted for me she would be using 2 strands per 4 hairs. This meant that the process would take doubly long, but she assured me she was up to the task. She started at the back of my head at the hairline and worked her way forward, occasionally reminding me about how wonderful this new hair was going to feel around my shoulders and down my back. First, she would separate out a line of hair and hold the other hair out of the way with numerous clips. She would then take individual hairs and attach the extension. How exactly, I am not sure, but she was sure to inform me that the only way to remove them after they were attached was by cutting them out. Sooner than I cared to I could begin to see Sasha's handiwork. My hair now, falling down over the back of the salon chair and coming to within 12 inches of the floor. My heart was racing and I could feel my panic level increasing with each strand she let fall, but there was nothing I could do to stop it. Roughly 1 hour into the process, I just tried to ignore what was happening to me. I tried to tell myself that when this was done I would have it all cut off and I would sue this woman for all she was worth. 2 hours into this hell with half my head now sporting hair down to my rear, I heard the front door to the salon open and I heard a woman say, "Hello Sasha, I am here to do his nails." No way, I thought. Can this get any worse? Sasha told me to hold on a bit as she left to greet this new addition to, what was obvious to me now, my feminization process. A few seconds later, a very pretty blonde woman followed Sasha into the room. Sasha introduced her as, "Tiffany, your manicurist." This is just great, I thought, but I didn't have the energy to verbalize my thoughts. "Tiffany," Sasha started, "I think sculptured nails would be the best thing to apply on Troy here. I was thinking of having you do them in pinks and whites, you know, the ultimate feminine French manicure. I believe the length should be about 1/2 inch beyond the fingertip. What do you think?" Sasha asked. "Sounds perfect to me," Tiffany responded. "I will get my things and get started on Troy's nails immediately." With that, Tiffany left the room to, as she said, get her things. This left me back in the clutches of Sasha, who quickly fell back into her routine of attaching the extensions. 10 minutes went by before Tiffany reappeared with her supplies to do my nails, as she put it. As Sasha attached the numerous and ever-growing hair extensions, Tiffany set to work applying the requested sculptured nails with pinks and whites as Sasha had asked. First, Tiffany prepared my existing nail, and then using a special form she began to create the artificial nail using a powder liquid mixture. Soon my hands were sporting 10 perfectly shaped 1/2 inch long tapered daggers. Shortly after that, my 10 new daggers were sporting a fresh, ultra-feminine French manicure as requested by my chief feminizer, Sasha. All I could manage was to shake my head slowly as my nails and hair grew. Also during this time, Sasha left and returned with a syringe. She informed me that it was filled with a much larger dose of the same nerve agent that was in the wine because, as she put it, I wouldn't want my new model to get antsy and try to up and leave before he, or should I say she, is ready, now would I? Both women giggled over this last statement. Sasha also informed me that not only did the syringe contain the nerve blocker, it also contained a large dose of female hormones, which in time would grow some interesting glands located conveniently on my chest. With that having been said, and with terror in my eyes, Sasha proceeded to inject me with the feminizing concoction. Once the injection was administered, and over the overpowering smells of the application and painting of my new sculptured nails, Sasha picked up her explanation of step 3. She told me it was important that I know exactly what is in store for me because it helps instill in me my enormous level of helplessness. Sasha informed me that after she was finished with the extensions and the coloring was complete, the most major change to my gorgeous new mane would take place. Curls, long spiral curls. Even in my drugged state, I let out a gasp. I could not imagine myself with spiral curls down to my rear. She went on to tell me how she planned to wrap my extended, colored and highlighted tresses in the most difficult and time-consuming way to produce the most fabulous, tight, spiral curls. The look I was after dictated this method, she said. She assured me that I would need some aspirin after if she had not given me the injection of the nerve agent first. She informed me that the sheer pull of all that hair on all those tiny rods would certainly cause a headache. She guessed that she would be using at least 150 if not 200 rods to produce the uniform spiral curl she wanted my soon-to-be ultra-long tresses to have. She went on to tell me that this would be a first for her, that she had never spiral permed this length of hair before, but again she was confident that she could pull it off or curl it up, as she put it with a laugh. She said that she would be doing a piggyback wrap and that normally she would use 2 rods per section of hair, but because my tresses will be so long it will probably take 3 to 4 rods per section. Tiffany stopped applying the white tip nail polish to my new nails and gasped at this last revelation, saying that she felt for me because when she was younger she had hair to her shoulder blades and that she got a spiral perm once and that it hurt so badly she swore she would never put herself through that pain again, and that was just the standard 2-rod piggyback perm, not to mention 3 or 4. Sasha just smiled and said, "I think she will be fine, not to worry your soon-to-be pretty little head." My heart continued to sink further with each new feminizing degree that was passed down to me by my feminization queen. I had no idea what I was going to do. I felt utterly defeated, which I now know was exactly what Sasha wanted. I played right into her hands. Having completed my nails, Tiffany asked if she could do anything else. Sasha quickly put her to work completing my pedicure, complete with the same pink and whites as my nails now had. Tiffany and Sasha completed the assigned task just about at the same time. Hair now hung down over my eyes by about 6 inches and my shoulders and back were completely covered in straight dark blonde hair. I could feel hair below my arms, which were resting on the arms of the salon chair. I believe that all my hair had been extended by a minimum of 30 inches except for my new bangs. Sasha next informed me that it was time for step 2, the coloring process. Had I really been in this chair with these 2 crazy women for over 4 hours? This had to be a bad dream. Sasha asked Tiffany if she would stay and help with the highlights, which would get started after the overall color was done processing, which would be in about 50 minutes. Tiffany said she would not miss this for the world, and they both let out a laugh. Sasha then proceeded to apply 3 boxes of darkest chestnut brown number 45 to my ultra-long tresses. Sasha told me that I was about to become a brunette, and asked me how it feels. All I could do was shrug my shoulders. The weight on my head was tremendous with all that hair with all that colorant on it twisted up on top of my head. The application process of the base color alone took Sasha 20 minutes. With the colorant on and the timer ticking away, Sasha had Tiffany pierce both my ears 3 times. I was in shock. Sasha hadn't said a word when suddenly Tiffany just appeared and said, "Ready for some earrings?" Sasha said, "Absolutely, how about 3 in each?" With these words, Tiffany loaded the piercing gun 6 different times and gave me 6 different holes in my ears, complete with starter studs as they called them. Tiffany told me I would have to wait a while before I could wear big hoops or dangly earrings. Great, I thought, just what I want to look forward to. As the timer ticked away and as every minute passed sealed my fate to be a brunette, more Sasha waxed both my eyebrows into an ultra-feminine arch. The process, I am sure, would have been extremely painful had it not been for the nerve agent coursing through my body. All I could do was stare blankly into the mirror as slowly but surely my once masculine image was being transformed into that of a woman. The arched eyebrows certainly didn't help this effect. While Sasha was performing the eyebrow shaping, she told me that they would also be coloring my brows and eyelashes, and not only that but my eyelashes would be getting a perm of their own very soon. I hardly heard any of this, as I was lost in thought over my predicament. The timer went off and I found myself back in the shampoo sink, only this time it took Sasha a long time to completely rinse out the excess colorant due to my extreme hair length. After the lengthy rinse and towel blot, I was back under the dryer again. Sasha had told me while rinsing out the colorant that my new brunette locks would need to be dried before she could apply the 4 different shades of highlights she planned on using. I just could not believe how dark my hair now was. With it wet it almost looked black. With my shaped brows and long dark hair, I was already losing the old image of Troy. 30 minutes later, Sasha and Tiffany came back, lifted the dryer and proclaimed me ready for highlights. Sasha mixed up the 4 colors she was going to paint onto my brunette locks. Auburn, dark auburn, blonde and dark blonde were the shades she had decided to use. But she told Tiffany that she had better make up more foils because she planned on covering most of my new brunette color with one of these. She then set to work starting in the back as she had done with the extensions. Sasha would separate out strands of hair and place the foil under them and then dip one of the paintbrushes into a color of her choice and paint the strand and the foil. She would then move to the next alternating colors as she went. Within 40 minutes I looked as though I could have pulled a message sent from the outer reaches of space. I had what appeared to be hundreds of these foils in my hair, each with an alternating hair color. They fell all the way down the back of the salon chair, and Sasha had to be very careful while walking around as to not disturb the ones previously completed. At 11:45 p.m. Sasha announced that the highlight application process was complete and proceed to place me under the dryer yet again, for 20 minutes or until the color processed to her liking, I was told. 20 minutes later I was again reclined back into the shampoo sink and all the foils were removed. My new highlighted tresses were again washed and deep conditioned in preparation for step 3, the dreaded spiral perm from hell. I actually giggled to myself as I thought that I was becoming delusional. As they lifted my long tresses out of the sink and turned the chair so I could face the mirror, I almost passed out. My once sandy blonde hair, which recently was changed to brunette, had now become a rainbow of shades of brunette, auburn and blonde. It would scream ultra-highlighted feminine hair to anyone seeing me, let alone the length would attract much attention, and this was all before the mega curls that had been promised to me. What was I going to do? My God, what? I think he loves it, don't you, Tiffany? Said Sasha as I just stared into the mirror at the woman I was becoming. Time for the most awaited process of all, the perm, Sasha said as the two of them broke down in laughter. A few minutes later Sasha came into the room pushing a cart overflowing with what I could only guess were perm rods. Pink, yellow and blue ones in different lengths but all very small in diameter. Sasha informed me that she would be using a combination of these rods and that the pink ones would be used the most. Thank God for that, at least they appeared to be the largest of the three. She quickly set to work having Tiffany hand her what she called end papers. She started at the crown of my head and would only wind a third, or as she worked down the back of my head, a fourth and sometimes a fifth of the strand onto the rod. She would then place another rod above the previously placed one and wind it down to it. She would continue this until all the strand was wrapped, be it on 3, 4 or even 5 rods. At one point I heard Tiffany say, "My God," under her breath. "I don't know how he is keeping his head up," she continued. At this rate I began to feel the weight pretty quickly. I had not yet even become accustomed to the weight of my new tresses when wet, let alone with all these rods attached to them. Soon the whole backside of my head was wrapped and Sasha began calling for the yellow rods and then the blue rods as she worked her way to the front of my head. About 2/3 of the way through the wrapping process my head could barely hold up the weight. It was a good thing that the rods Sasha was using now had become smaller and lighter. After 2.5 hours of wrapping, Sasha snapped the last perm rod into place over my forehead. She then proceeded to apply some very thick cream around my hairline, and she also applied a strip of cotton around my entire head before applying 4 boxes of perm solution. My eyes began to water. I now knew what the smell I used to smell was when I came in for a haircut, but now it was being applied to me. "My goodness, we used over 200 rods on your head, girl," said Sasha with a giggle as she placed a plastic bag over my rods and placed me under the dryer for an hour minimum. Before placing me under the dryer, Sasha proceeded to let me in on how a perm works, like I needed or wanted to know that. She said that the perm solution she applied softens the hair and the hair conforms to the rods it is wrapped on. Once the hair has softened enough, she would rinse out the perm solution and apply the neutralizer, which will harden the hair in the shape of the rods, thus creating fabulously long tight spiral curls. She said that I would probably lose about 6 inches in length due to the intense amount of curl. "Oh darn," I mumbled sarcastically. Time proceeded very slowly as I dreaded what these new curls would look like. The timer finally went off and Sasha inspected several rods by undoing them, pulling out the hair, and inspecting the curl. Not yet satisfied, she said, 20 more minutes and then your new curls should be perfect. 20 minutes passed and Sasha came over, lifted the hood on the dryer and with help from Tiffany lowered me into the shampoo sink again. 15 minutes of rinsing later my rods were towel blotted and the neutralizer was applied. It had a sweet smell and was a welcome change from the perm solution smell. Sasha informed me that I would need to get used to having hair smelling of perm solution because with all you have it going to retain the perm smell for a long time. 20 minutes and yet another rinse later Sasha began to remove the rods. I could not see because my head was still in the shampoo sink, but soon she was done. After one more rinse she lifted my head, which now felt light, up and slowly turned the chair so I could inspect the damage. I was speechless. Even without the nerve agent I would have been. What I saw in the mirror was a brunette, highlighted Lady Godiva-like person. The curls spiraled from my scalp down my head down my back and ended just a bit above my rear. What happened to the 6 inches in length I was supposed to lose? It was 3 to 4 inches at best. What was I thinking about? Loss in hair length? My God, I now had brunette highlighted spiral permed hair down to almost my butt and I was getting upset about only losing 3 inches in length. All I could do once again was stare at my image as Sasha applied styling gel and used a diffuser on a hairdryer to dry my now ultra-feminine locks. By now the nerve agent was beginning to wear off and Sasha knew this, so with Tiffany's help they attached leg and arm restraints to me so I could not move my arms or legs, just my head. As I turned my head my new tresses would move across my back, brush my neck and face. All I could hear was Sasha telling me how wonderful that feeling would be, and now I was loving it firsthand. What the hell was I going to do, and what more did Sasha and Tiffany have in store for me? Part 2. The explanation. As Sasha dried my long mane of spiral curls, the curl just kept getting tighter and tighter. My God, I thought, how am I going to deal with this much hair? After Sasha completed drying my hair, it did appear to have shortened by 6 or 7 inches, even my bangs were now just at eye level. Just as I planned the length to be, Sasha gloated. Boy, I feel sorry for you, Troy, I mean Shayla. I sure wouldn't want to have to deal with that much hair on a daily basis. Tiffany interjected, but it does look wonderfully feminine, she grinned. Sasha and Tiffany had left the room to take a well-deserved break, leaving me to wonder what feminization treatment was going to be done to me next. I really had no idea what more was going to happen, or more importantly why this was happening. I was about to be told. Sasha came back into the room after being gone for about 30 minutes and informed me that it was time for her to fill me in on the rest of the plan, as she put it. And why I was doing this to me. You see, she started, I own a large clothing designing company that specializes in prom gowns, special occasion dresses and wedding gowns among other things. Over the years, she continued, I have discovered that hiring female models for my catalogs and runway shows is extremely expensive. Not only that, female models are extremely hard to deal with as they become more and more sought after. As Sasha was explaining this to me, I was thinking, what the hell does this have to do with me? I was about to find out. Also, Sasha continued, we are always having to alter the gowns for each model because of their different shapes. All these issues just started to add up in my mind and I thought, hey, why not create my models from scratch? First, she said, I thought I would get ordinary women and transform them, but then I thought in time I would be creating the same model divas I was already dealing with. And I would still have the altering gown issue. Then a thought came to me. What if I started with a man and transformed his outward appearance into that of a female model? All at once I understood where this was going and my heart sank deeper with every word. Sasha went on to explain to me that she had thought of using men who were willing to do this. But again, she figured that they too would become divas. She told me she figured out that she needed to find men that she would transform, by force, into appearing as women permanently on the outside. Because then, as she put it, they would have no other option but to work for me and they would become indebted to me. No one else is going to hire a man that appears to be a woman on the outside, and certainly no woman will want a relationship with someone like that, she finished with a chuckle. She completed her evil explanation by telling me that the other benefit in using men is that she can mold their bodies by using padding and the like to match the dresses instead of the other way around, which she said would be much easier. That having been said, Sasha informed me that once my transformation was complete, I would be her first made-to-order model and that she hoped, for my sake, in the end, that I would enjoy serving her as her model. Not that you have a choice, she added. I think you will grow to love dressing in corsets, stockings, bras, crinolines, heels, prom gowns and yes, beautiful wedding gowns with lovely long trains made of silk and satin. Having your hair constantly colored and curled and put up in the most elaborate mega updos and having your makeup done every day so that you appear as ultra-feminine as possible. When we are done with you, you just might be the next Cindy Crawford. By the way, Tiffany and I were talking during our break and we decided that your new name will be Shayla. Sounds sexy enough for ya? I just cringed. As Sasha completed her last thought, I saw Tiffany come in and hand something to Sasha. Now it is time to explain the rest of your transformation to you and get back to work. With that, Sasha came at me again with another syringe filled with nerve agent, and before I could react, the needle sunk into my arm once again, leaving my body frozen. The two women undid the restraints, and as they did, Sasha started to explain my next step of feminization. Well, your hair turned out even better than I had ever expected. And your nails are just lovely, so I think it is time for some makeup. With that, Sasha and Tiffany lifted me out of the chair and carried me over to what looked like a massage table. Sasha then explained to me that in order for me to never again appear as male, they would need to apply some permanent makeup on my face. But first they would need to remove all my facial hair. With that said, Sasha put me through hell as she used a laser to remove my facial hair. Once that was complete, she began with the permanent makeup. We are just going to do a little, she said. Just enough that you will have to wear makeup all the time or you will look very silly, she said with a laugh. Hey Tiffany, can you imagine going to the store with eyeliner and lip liner on but nothing else? You would certainly attract attention, but with those beautiful long, dark, highlighted, curly tresses I think she will attract plenty of attention even with no makeup on at all. Just look at it, it is just gorgeous, replied Tiffany. I am so jealous. I just could not believe what was happening. I was going to be transformed into a female model against my will and could do nothing about it. Not only that, but once Sasha had completed my permanent makeup, there was not much I could do to return to being Troy again. In my head, I just screamed. I was destined to become a supermodel, not a career I had ever envisioned for myself. After an hour of outlining my eyes and lips and applying a small amount of blush, Sasha and Tiffany held up a hand mirror so I could see Sasha's handiwork. I was in shock. My eyes now had a thin line of black totally around the rim and my lips were lined in red. A very light rosy pink color was permanently painted to my cheeks. With my long locks framing my face, my femininely arched brows, my 6 earrings and now permanent makeup, all I saw in the mirror looking back was Shayla. Complete with a tattooed Cindy Crawford beauty mark on my upper chin, and my transformers weren't done yet. She really is becoming a looker, isn't she? Said Sasha. Tiffany agreed. Time for that eyelash perm and tint I promised, Sasha said, bringing me out of my trance. With that, she reached into one of the carts she had brought out earlier and brought out 2 tiny little perm rods. She then told me to keep my eyes shut while she wound my eyelashes onto these tiny little rods and applied some kind of solution. "Don't open those beautiful green eyes of yours," she said. "You wouldn't want any of that solution to get in your eyes." While the curl for my lashes was setting, Sasha and Tiffany dyed my femininely shaped eyebrows a dark brown to match my hair color. After 20 minutes passed, they rinsed my eyes and brows and proceeded to tint my permanently curled eyelashes. Just think, Shayla, honey, with curled lashes like that you will never have to worry about using an eyelash curler again. "Oh, that's right, you never had to before, I forgot," Sasha giggled. "That's real funny," I managed to whisper. "Hey," Sasha began. "Do you have any idea how many women would kill to have all this stuff done to them for free? You better start getting a better attitude, Mrs." I heard Tiffany let out a burst of laughter from somewhere behind Sasha after that last comment. Another 15 minutes went by and Sasha rinsed off my lashes. "All done with that," she said, "now on to bigger and better things." "Shayla," Sasha started, "we need to get rid of all that ugly body hair now." With that, Tiffany and Sasha carried me into another room which had a shower stall. They proceeded to tie my hands up to a bar attached to the walls of the shower and removed all my clothes. Sasha then put up my hair using what had to be 6 or 7 clips and then cover it with a shower cap, saying, "We can't let any of this come into contact with those wonderful locks, now can we?" After Sasha had completed protecting my precious cascading curls and once my cloths were removed, the two women set to work covering me from my neck to my toes in a foul-smelling creme, which I was promised would leave my body extremely smooth and hairless. I was informed that eventually they would be doing laser hair removal over my entire body. "Oh joy," I mumbled. They left me hanging there for about 20 or 30 minutes. Upon their return, they hosed me down and I watched as all my body hair flowed down the drain just like my masculinity was doing. Once completed with the hose down, I was covered in a flowery-smelling lotion that was supposed to inhibit hair growth. "You will still need to shave your entire body every couple of days," Sasha said. "But that will be good for you, it will reinforce femininity. There is nothing more feminine than running a nice bubble bath, putting up your hair and shaving your legs," Sasha continued. By the time the denuding was complete, it was morning. Sasha and Tiffany left me hanging for a while longer so I could be cleaned out, as they put it. They informed me that it must have been a while since I had relieved myself, so they were going to speed things up a bit by giving me an enema. My eyes got big and I began to shake my head no, to no avail, of course. I won't go into the gory details. Let's just say what they did indeed clean me out. Once that humiliation was done, they carried me back to the massage table and attached the restraints. They said it was time for everyone to get some sleep. At this, they injected me with what I believed to be a sedative and I went into a deep sleep. I awoke sometime later to the sound of Sasha and Tiffany's voices. They seemed to be discussing clothing, my clothing. I was now in what I believed to be a different building. My thoughts were verified when Sasha came over and said, "Oh, the princess is awake. We can get her dressed now. You are now in my dress studio and Tiffany and I are going to get you ready for your first photo shot." At the time I was still restrained and I could tell that the nerve agent had worn off some, but that was to change. Sasha came up from behind and once again administered another shot, telling me that this one was again full of female hormones along with the nerve agent. "In the next few days," she stated, "I would expect you to begin to notice some soreness and swelling in your chest area. Once you have been on hormones long enough, we will have your breast implants done and you will be the proud owner of some very nice B-cup breasts." I could only cringe at the thought, me with breast ugh. Tiffany undid my restraints and she and Sasha carried me to a makeup chair. "We are going to start with your makeup," said Sasha. I purposely did not apply much permanent makeup to your face so that it would be easy to continually change your look. With that having been said, Tiffany began with what she called a concealer. She applied this to my face using a small triangular sponge. She told me that over time I would probably not need to use it, as the hormones did their thing and softened my skin, and what little beard I had after the laser treatment would vanish. Once she completed this application, she then began to apply foundation. After taking a considerable amount of time in deciding what shade to use, "You are a honey beige by Maybelline," Tiffany informed me. "I am using the Dream Matte Mousse formula. It gives great coverage and looks natural on you, don't you agree?" Tiffany completed my foundation and then covered my face in powder to set the foundation, as she put it. Next came my eyeshadow. By L'Oreal, I was told, my eyeshadow, God. First she applied a dark burgundy color to the crease of my lid, followed up a little higher by a lighter shade of rose, then a light pink right below my brow line. She also applied the same shade to my lid, but just a touch. Then she darkened my upper eyelids permanent eyeliner with a liquid liner pencil in Onyx by CoverGirl. How appropriate, CoverGirl, which is exactly what they are turning me into, I thought. Next she did the same to my lower permanent liner, only this time using an eyeliner pencil rather than a liquid, in Onyx and made by CoverGirl. Tiffany told me at this point that she would begin the mascara application, but she informed me that I would never need much with my lashes tinted a beautiful permanent black color as they now were. She quickly completed this application and went on to darkening my permanent blush with several shades of CoverGirl Cheekers. "Now for the final," she beamed. "Lip color, we are going to use CoverGirl's Outlast Lip Stain on your lips in Merlot. It will stay on your lips through anything," she assured me. "Not that you really want it to," she giggled. This whole process had finally pushed me over the edge. As I looked in the mirror, my image kept becoming more and more feminine. I was becoming a Women in Glamour or some other woman's magazine, and I was powerless to stop it from happening. I started to try and move my head and tell Tiffany to stop. But as I did, she just held my chin firmly and said, "Now Shayla, there is no need to fight your transformation now, just look in the mirror. You are beautiful. Just look at your hair cascading down your back, your arched eyebrows, your earrings, your beautiful nails, and your beautifully applied makeup. It is silly of you to start to fight it now. We are all but done. You couldn't possibly leave here without everyone thinking you were anything but a woman. Just look, what do you see? Feminine beauty, that's what you see, and that is all you are going to see from now on." These words hit me like a ton of bricks. She was right. I was trapped as a woman, not just an ordinary woman but a gorgeous model. At that point my mind couldn't grasp what was happening and how permanent my life had changed in 24 hours or so. I just gave up and let Tiffany complete my lips. "Good girl," Tiffany said with a smile. While doing my lips, Tiffany told me I was lucky in that her and Sasha had planned on injecting collagen into their chosen model's lips to achieve that bee-stung look, but that I had great natural lips and that would not be necessary. Great, I thought, at least that's one feminizing thing I won't have to go through. "There, all done with your makeup, what a difference!" Tiffany exclaimed. All I could do was look at what I had become and begin to mourn the loss of Troy, because what I was seeing in the mirror was all Shayla. Tiffany then left to get Sasha, as I just stared into the mirror. Shortly they both returned and Sasha nearly had a heart attack upon seeing my beautifully made-up face. "My God, he's gorgeous, Tiffany. You did a wonderful job on him, I just can't believe it. He has good face structure to build on and the makeup went on like a dream," Tiffany replied. I made sure and told him what I was using and how to use it at each step, but I am not sure how much he retained, she continued. "It won't really matter anyway because we will be having professionals do his makeup most of the time," Sasha replied. "Okay, enough chit-chat," Sasha said. "Let's get him, I mean her, damn it, in a bridal gown, I have just the ultra-feminine one in mind. Oh, but geez, I almost forgot, we need to do his hair up in a ultra-high updo first. Tiffany, could you go get the hair styling cart from the other room and bring it here? I have the flat irons and curling irons already preheated, so be careful. With this much hair I am going to have a blast putting it up. I bet it will be 12 inches above her head when I am done. I am going to put it in big barrel curls with tendrils down the sides of his face. With that, Tiffany left to retrieve the styling cart. Sasha began to play with my long locks. She bent down to my ear as I looked into the mirror and said, "Your hair feels fantastic. Can you feel it as it caresses your bare back? Do you remember when I said, before we ever started, that you are going to love the feeling of the hair on your back when wearing an off-the-shoulder gown? Well, you are about to experience it firsthand. Are you having a good time being feminized? I hope so. It would be such a waste if you were in agony," she said with a sadistic grin. About that time Tiffany arrived pushing the styling cart, which was loaded with all different sizes of curling irons and what I would soon learn, all too well, flat irons. The cart also contained numerous bottles of hairspray, mousse, gel, and hundreds of packages of hairpins in various lengths. With your ultra-curly tresses we are going to need to straighten some out before putting it up. Ready, gorgeous? Sasha asked. I merely shrugged my defeated shoulders as she set to work with the largest flat iron on the cart. Sasha would separate out a section of hair and then close the flat iron around it at my scalp, then pull it through to the end of my hair. Needless to say, this did not feel that pleasant as she worked over most of my head. I could not figure out why she had permanently curled my hair and then wanted it straight again only 24 hours later. If you were wondering your pretty little head about why I permed your hair and now I'm straightening it, don't. You needed to have permanent curl to your hair so that it would hold all manner of styles. I wouldn't expect you to understand, Sasha sarcastically commented. Soon the back of my head was smooth and sleek. You could really see the highlights in my hair now, ugh. I was really getting tired of having my hair worked on and at this point just wanted the transformation to be complete, but that was not to be. Next, Sasha began to grab large sections of my hair starting at the back of my head. She would comb them up and use hairspray and numerous hairpins to attach them in place. I soon had a huge pile of hair on top of my head, but because of its length it was hanging over my face so I could not see what Sasha was doing next. I realized later that she would then take sections of hair from the bunch on top of my head and with a large barrel curling iron she would make huge curls and then pin them in a sculpted design on top of my head. I soon had dozens of large curls attached by hundreds of hairpins sitting on top of my head. Sasha was right when she had said she was going to give me an ultra-high updo. I don't think I had seen hair this high even in pictures of women from the 50s. The back and front of my hair was now glossy with hairspray and on top of my head sat what could best be described as a work of art. A work of art if you are a woman. But if you are a man sitting here with this ultra-feminine updo, then it would best be described as a nightmare. Upon one last generous application of hairspray, Sasha proclaimed that hair isn't going anywhere. She then left the room for a short time, returning with a large bunch of what she called baby's breath flowers mixed with tiny pearls. She soon began to attach these flowers and pearls in my updo. If you were to look in the dictionary under maxim femininity, you would have found my picture at this moment. I thought I could not have looked more feminine until she pulled several strands of hair down along the sides of my face and proceeded to spiral curl them with the tiniest curling iron she had. "These are called tendrils," she snickered. "Don't you just look precious? I can't wait to see you in your veil." "Yeah, neither can I thought sarcastically. "Okay, I do believe we are ready to get you in your first, but positively not last bridal gown," Sasha said with delight. "Stay right here in Tiffany and I will get your trousseau. That is all your wedding clothes from your corset to your gown, if you were wondering." Sasha and Tiffany returned with numerous bags and boxes and one huge garment bag filled with white satin material. That must be the gown, I thought. Oh God. First they hung me up, by my arms, by a bar attached to the ceiling. When this was complete, Sasha asked Tiffany to apply the adhesive to a pair of silicone breast forms lying on the table. Until that moment I had not seen them sitting there. Ugh, I thought. Sasha then squeezed each one to my chest and held them there for a few minutes. Once she let go, I could feel the weight of my breasts on my chest. After they were firmly attached, Sasha used some sort of makeup to blend the edges of the forms into my own skin. Once this was done, they wrapped a white satin corset with lots of lace trim, which laced up the back, around my waist. The corset came up to my new breasts and helped to squeeze them together to create some artificial cleavage. They both informed me that I was a lucky girl because the corset severed triple duty, as a corset to trim my waist, as a bra to create cleavage, and as a garter belt to hold up my lace-trimmed stockings that I soon would be wearing. As they tightened the laces, I started to have trouble breathing, and soon I thought I was going to pass out. Don't worry, honey, Sasha assured me. As much as you will be wearing one of these from here on, you will become accustomed to the feel very quickly. This made me feel so much better, yeah right. Next came my panties, which were the most frilly thong panties I had ever seen. Then came my lace-trimmed stockings. Tiffany and Sasha tag-teamed me and each took a leg, slowly, rolling up the stockings to impress upon me even more, no doubt, my feminized condition. Over my feminized legs they went, encasing my legs in silk and lace. They each attached the 6 garter suspenders, which hung from my corset to the lace, top stockings. My God, how would I be able to move in all this? That, I am sure, was not a concern they shared with me. Upon completion of my stockings, Tiffany suggested that they move a full-length mirror over so I could get a good look at myself while just in my undergarments. Excellent suggestion, Tiffany, let's do it, said Sasha. With that, Tiffany grabbed one of several full-length mirrors and rolled it over to me. Even in my drugged condition, I let out a gasp. I looked like a Fredericks of Hollywood model. I think if I had continued to look, I could have turned myself on. Except that the reality of the vision in the mirror being myself upset me too much. I think she loves her new look, don't you, Tiffany? Said Sasha with a grin. Oh, for sure, what man, women wouldn't want to look like this, ha ha ha, Tiffany followed up. I was speechless. In a little over 24 hours, these 2 feminizers had turned me into a gorgeous woman. I would be spending the rest of my days as a woman. What had I done to deserve this? I was a victim of poor timing, really poor timing. Okay, princess, enough ogling over your beauty, Sasha said, bringing me out of my thoughts. It's time to complete your look. That having been said, Sasha and Tiffany proceeded to place a large crinoline over my head very carefully as to not disturb my updo, carefully tying it behind me. The crinoline had to have a base diameter of 5 feet. I had no idea how I would walk in this. Next came the dress. Had it not been mine, I would have thought it to be beautiful, but considering it was being placed over my feminized head, I didn't like it at all. It was snow-white satin material, off the shoulder as promised, with tons of beaded sequined and pearl appliques. It was off the shoulder but still had sleeves up to the bottom of my shoulders. The back closed with dozens of tiny buttons and the sleeves closed with a row of 12 themselves. Once these buttons were fastened, there would be no way I would be able to remove this gown, especially with my new nails, drugged or not. I figured this is what my 2 feminizers counted on as well. Now Shayla, Sasha reminded as the 2 set to work fastening all the buttons, only we can get you out of this gown, so I would suggest you just get comfortable in it, you look marvelous. I had not noticed until just now as Tiffany stretched out the train just how long it was. It had to be at least 15 feet. The dress was incredibly heavy. I couldn't imagine a woman wearing this on her wedding day and not being exhausted by the end of the day. Before I knew it, Sasha had placed a veil over my head and was attaching it at the base of my updo with numerous hairpins. Its length matched that of my train, so I could barely move my head. It was a crown style with a poof of gauze at the start of my updo and gauze flowing out back down my head to the bottom of my train. The crown was loaded with beads, sequins and pearls as well, and it too was very heavy. I knew that if I spent much time in this get-up I would be worn out. Next, Tiffany brought over some 3-inch strappy sandal-style heels and proceeded to strap them to my stocking-encased feet. As Tiffany was attaching my new footwear, Sasha replaced my starter stud earrings with dangly drop pearls in the lower holes, followed by 2 plain pearls in the 2 upper holes. I could feel the pearls jiggling against my neck. The feeling was extremely unsettling. Sasha then placed a string of pearls around my throat and proclaimed, "This look is complete. Just remember though, you will be dressing like this every day for a good long time to come." By now the drugs had really worn off and feeling was coming back to my body. "Can you stand up by yourself now, Shayla?" asked Sasha. You may be asking yourself why I didn't go crazy and run out of that place at that moment. You have to remember that by then I appeared to be all woman. Not only that, but how would I have gotten away in that gown with those heels, and who would have believed my story? I looked like a beautiful bride. Both Tiffany and Sasha knew this. I stood up as instructed and Tiffany wheeled over the full-length mirror she had used before. I just stared at my reflection and began to tear up. I was truly beautiful, but I was a man and I did not want to be beautiful, much less to be a woman's clothing model. What was to become of me?